decency, equality, and mutual respect for all human beings and all other living creatures.
We are systematically destroying our land, our streams, and our seas. That's what we have to challenge.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Global Village. I'm your host, Buddy Cunanan. Now, you know, folks, on this program, we not only take you around the world in a virtual way, we also talk about issues and topics that impact the global community. And nothing unites us more, nothing binds us more and threatens us more as a species and as a people, as the threat of global warming and climate change. And so today is a very special show because we've just recently celebrated Earth Day, and today is also coming towards the end of Earth Month, and to join us now to talk about this very fascinating topic, which affects all of us, is one of the prime movers and lead advocates of climate change awareness in the Philippines. He's been at it for many, many decades. None other than former Senator Harrison Alvarez. He's now the chairman of the Climate Institute Advisory Board. Good evening, Senator Alvarez, and welcome to Global Village.
It's nice of you to have invited me.
No, sir. Actually, we're very honored to have you here, and on a very auspicious occasion as this, Earth Day, recently celebrated Earth Month, still in the works. We're in the last few days of Earth Month, and to have you here to share your wisdom and your experience, your knowledge about this advocacy that you've been championing for such a long time. So, Senator, for the viewers who are tuning in now, let's have a little introduction about yourself. You were a senator for a very long time, but
for 12 years.
For 12 years,
extendable terms. So.
Yes, but you were one of the first advocates, really, of this whole climate change issue. You were championing this even before it became hip, before it became sexy to be pro-climate change. You were already fighting for this. Tell us a bit about how you got involved. Huh?
I was doing human rights against the Marcos government in the United States, and there were other groups there. All foundation groups, all foundation supported group. There was a foundation group that was focusing on the earth, on Mother Earth. And they had no Asian, so they would always grab me after I finished with the human rights group. And they asked me to participate. I learned from them. They were people who were focused on the beauty and the bounty of the earth and how that bounty is being threatened because of certain negative practices. Aggressive agriculture was one. The use of certain gases like DDT was being studied. And of course, the pollution, the wide pollution of oceans, rivers, there was a lot of ways. These things, they were already aware. This was I started my membership in 1976 in that group. Okay. So when I came here and democracy was restored, I was chosen to run for the Senate. And fortunately, I won. I won well. I had the choice on what committee I wanted. Some of my colleagues suggested that I take the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense was one of the biggest, still is the biggest, or education. But I chose...
Both of them, education and defense, are the top budgeted
but I chose environment. I chose Minority Committee, Minority for the Protection of Minorities. And I chose land reform, of course, because I was for a year.
Yes.
Our Secretary of Agrarian Reform.
Yes. Senator Alvarez, before we jump into that, the Cory era, when you first really came back and became a senator and we're pushing this issue, let's talk about your involvement in the 70s. Now, back then, did you see already that this issue, because back in the 70s, people weren't really paying much attention to this. It was all, it was a fringe issue, but not really in the mainstream consciousness of people, not just in the United States, but all over the world, no?
Yeah.
So, but did you already see that this would be a very important, that this was an important topic and would be a very, society-changing, world-changing, issue in the next decades?
I felt that this was going to be an issue that would change the way man lived. Because at the time, there were already very clear indications that we were overusing our natural resources. And I know that in the Philippines, we were over-harvesting. We were degrading our forest. We were...
You're from Isabela, Senator, so
yes.
Your province is one of the hard-hit ones by
when
overlogging.
you destroy a forest,
Yes.
you destroy a lot of things. You destroy a biodiversity because in the forest, there are plenty of things that are locked in there like lives.
Sure,
The
yes.
forest, the wild animals, the trees, some flowers or vegetables in the forest, which have yet to be tapped for use as medicine.
Definitely.
And then, of course, there are some nomadic people like our Negritos in the forest. And there were the eagles that if you kill the forest, you kill the eagles. Oh, I knew then that it was something that is very valuable for our survival. That is our life support system.
Yes.
At the time, the idea that we were going to be destroyed unless we took care of our environment. When the first conference, the summit of '92 was called by the United Nations in Rio de Janeiro, they began to focus already on the threat to the survival of the environment. And a group was organized, the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, at the time headed by an Indian scholar, Rajendra Pachauri. They measured the carbon dioxide that we had been, all of humanity, poor and rich nations and more the rich nations alike, discharging since the Industrial Revolution from our machine.
Yes.
And these gases, carbon dioxide mostly, methane, nitrous gas, were accumulating in the atmosphere and overheating the earth.
Yes.
To the point that it's generating a lot of disasters. This overheating caused disastrous storms, disastrous drought.
But Senator, okay, we've recently seen the assumption of Donald Trump as President of the United States. He's now completing his, I think, his 100th day, was just finished just very recently. And, in contrast to his predecessor, Barack Obama, President Trump is a climate change disbeliever. He's very open about it.
A naysayer.
Yeah, he's very open about it. He thinks it's a farce. He thinks it's a hoax. Now, Senator, tell me, is the science on this definitive? Because why are there so many people, led by no less than the President of the United States, who are apparently, not convinced, or maybe they want to not be convinced that climate change is really happening?
The overheating is already an established fact. But they think that the Earth is so vast that overheating can eventually be slowed down, but not by eliminating completely fossil fuel. But the program of the United Nations is, especially the latest one that was approved in Paris, an agreement for all the different countries in the world to share.
Yes.
And the bigger countries will share more, so that ultimately down the line, in the year 2050, we would have eliminated 70% of carbon dioxide. That means we would have eliminated coal fuel, oil, and natural gas, and we will have, in the year 3000, in 2030, 70% would be eliminated, and in the year 3000, all zero, we would be using alternative fuels or climate fuels. From where are these? From wind, from sun, from river flows, from the ocean. There is no need for carbon, for fuel coming from coal.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Senator, I mean, okay, ambitious target, 2050, 70% reduction.
70.
in emissions and all that. And you mentioned these renewables, solar, wind, maybe natural gas, and I mean,
Yeah.
my question is this: is this a realistic target, 70% by 2050? Because at the moment, the way things are going, do you think that this is possible to reach that, to really eliminate the fossil fuels?
Sure, because the development of technology and science has already enabled many countries or some principalities to have 100% alternative energy. Energy is coming from the sun, coming from the wind. So it doesn't make sense. If these countries can do it with more technology, then we can do it so that we will totally be safe.
Yes, but Senator, isn't it true that also that these renewables like solar and wind and all that they only comprise a small percentage still of the power generation, even of in these developing countries?
Yes, because
Very small percentage.
because the installations taking a bit of time, since initially they were expensive,
Yes.
but now they're competitive because China has brought down
We have China to thank for that.
Yeah, the expense for nuclear
the
panels,
solar cells.
nuclear plates,
Yes.
the
Solar-
plates that you mount,
Yes.
that absorbs the sun's energy, and translate it to electricity. So all you have to spend for is the plate.
The cost
And
has come down considerably. Yes.
Because the sun is free.
Yes.
Why would you be buying expensive coal and dirty coal? The sun is free. The biggest nuclear reactor over the face of the earth is the sun. But this panel which you use is still a little expensive. But now the price is going down. The price is going down by about 9% every year. Even the windmills are going down.
Yes. Yes.
And using carbon is dangerous because the heat of the earth is increasing. We are now on the average of 1.3. In some portions of the earth, it's already 1.8, 1.5. The Sahara is 1.5. And if we reach a temperature of 2 degrees centigrade, there's nothing that we can do to save the earth. Why? It will be so hot,
Yes.
the small plants will not survive it. Small animals will not survive it. Many phases of the earth will get burned, will get scorched. Wala na yun. Sahara will be totally a burning zone. And then your life support system, which comes from living things and living animals that survive on certain median temperature, they cannot survive 2 degrees centigrade.
Yes, I think, Senator, a lot of people don't realize that what a fragile balance really we have on this earth. No, as you mentioned, a degree more, a degree and a half, 2 degrees more will spell the end of the existence of many creatures on this earth, including perhaps even us. And so we really have this delicate balance. No, that if one area is out of sync with the rest, it automatically affects the entire system. The earth is actually a living organism.
Yes, because we become so developed, and in the process of development, we've overused, exploited our resources. We multiplied in great numbers. There's 7 billion of us now consuming these resources. We're running short of water, we're running short of fish. And unless we moderate these, so that there's going to be a balance of the resources, the capacity of the earth to provide life,
Okay.
then surely we will perish. We will perish. The prediction is that we will not perish easily and softly, but if we have so much carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide that we have deposited here and continue to deposit exceeds the capacity of the earth, we will perish because of the hot will burn.
Yes, yes.
There's another planet. Venus was a beautiful planet. It had water, it had moisture, it had bacteria, but it began to overheat. Venus is nothing now but a beautiful marble.
Yes, yes. Senator, we have to pause for a break, but when you come back, we'll talk about the situation in the Philippines, how is climate change affecting us. We'll talk about Earth Day, and we'll talk about that event that you participate in every year, climate change, the Conference of Parties, or COP23, which is scheduled in Bonn for next year, for November this year. So guys, stick around because more of Global Village and climate change and Earth Day when we return.